It's time for Did You Watch It?
How does this show work? We watch what we like, we talk about what we watched, and maybe you'll like what you hear. I'm Liz.
I'm Isabelle. Last night we watched episode 18 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 5. The show aired on Tuesday, March 17th, 2015. Here's what we thought.
So we pick up, of course, in Amsterdam.
Of course.
Everybody's going to the market, which was a really cool place to be.
It is. It's super beautiful.
Right?
And all the shops.
Everybody buying their groceries.
There's a great little Christmas shop there, too. You can find all kinds of Christmas decorations and things.
Cool.
Year-round. It's super cool.
So Brandi, as a grand gesture, decides to get some flowers for Lisa.
Vanderpump, you mean?
Yes, for Vanderpump.
That's okay.
Because she says the slap was, and I quote, a joke.
Everything is a joke with Brandi, isn't it? She always claims it is.
Help me understand, in what context slapping another woman across the face would be a joke? Am I missing something here? Because I just don't get it.
No, not many instances.
Okay.
But in her specific case, absolutely not.
I'm thinking, okay, maybe a giant clown with a red nose.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe using a giant, bolster kind of, foam baseball bat or something. Yeah, maybe that would be a joke.
And if you're both in on the joke.
Right?
And you're both doing the skit or something.
Exactly.
In a theater, then that's a joke.
Yeah. But what we saw between the two of them, not so much.
Yeah, not really. And Vanderpump is really not having any of these flowers. She's like, no.
Of course not. And I loved what she said, just about, no, you've taken it too far. Brandi, of course, is feeling sheepish, and then she's getting upset that everybody's lecturing her, but it's like, enough is enough. You can't just do whatever you want and then just apologize the next day and just feel like you're tired of everybody lecturing you.
Or I love her explanation. It just happens. Or I don't know. She always comes up with some really zany or lame excuse. Not even zany, just lame.
She said that she takes the fun to a level that's not fun. And I'm thinking, honey, slapping someone is never fun. I don't know what world you live in, but
I mean, if we're talking self-defense, fine. But was Lisa? I'm sorry. I know we've been really good this whole season about Vanderpump, right? And Rinna.
I'm proud of us.
I know, but Vanderpump was not attacking Brandi.
And with Vanderpump, it's never okay to slap across the face.
Never.
I mean, with no one is it ever, but just especially with her.
I totally agree with Vanderpump being fed up. And she and Yolanda having their little conversation.
I'm fed up too, watching it.
I know. It's just almost like, Brandi, just no.
Okay, so everyone goes to dinner that night. Mm-hmm. And they go to another lovely location by the canal, which was gorgeous.
I think it actually might be part of the hotel itself.
They were talking about that, but I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, it wasn't clear, but It was beautiful anyways, right
Gorgeous.
Overlooking the canal.
And they had a lovely, civilized dinner.
And do you know why? Because Brandi wasn't there.
So Brandi takes off to go out with this 25-year-old Dutch boy who we find out in the beginning of the episode knows Vanderpump's son, Max.
Yeah, they went to school together or some crazy
Okay, how crazy
connection.
Is that they just happened to meet on the street in Amsterdam, of all things?
I know.
And that he asks Brandi to go out on a date.
Was that the most awkward setup ever? Is it just me?
Which part?
Everything in general. That entire date where she's, hobbling on her platform pumps down the cobblestone streets to get to the cafe.
Oh my gosh. And then she's waiting there for an hour before he gets there late or something. I don't know. The whole thing. I don't know how old Brandi is.
She's at least 40 something. Like 43. Right? But there's too much Botox. I know we've talked about this.
Yeah.
But
I get it. She goes for younger guys. But, given kind of where she's at and what she likes to do. She herself will say, I just want to make out, right? She's not there for some lasting romantic connection. She's just there to kind of have some fun with this younger guy. But I'm thinking, what kind of conversation can they have actually on a date? Well, and we saw. What were they doing? That's
why it was awkward. It was just like, I think, Brandi looks okay, but she's had too much Botox. But when you put her next to this 23, 25-year-old, however old he is, it's like, oh, Brandi, no, you're not looking so good. Sorry.
It's just, well, she, I've always said she's a pretty girl, and she looks great. She dressed up really nice. She looks beautiful, but it's just, I don't know. There's just something about a guy who's so young.
Yes.
Okay, when I was the younger girl, I went out with older guys, and it wasn't so gross. But now to see it, in this context, I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I could do that. It sounds like fun.
And I could never date a guy that was 20 years older than me. Like, that just creeped me out.
In theory, it sounds good, but in practice?
It depends on the woman, I think. Because some have that natural beauty about them, and they haven't done anything to their face. But in this case, no. It just looked awkward. Like, if Brandi went for a 35-year-old... a 32-year-old,
yeah, that's totally
perfectly
different.
fine.
Yeah, but 23-year-old, 24, yeah. Even though he was trying to act more mature with his blazer.
Oh, God, no.
How'd you like the dinner table conversation?
It was quite interesting. I didn't think it was going to take that turn about live sex clubs and sex clubs in Mexico or clubs in Brazil.
I don't know if I ever thought I would hear those words come out of Vanderpump's mouth, ever. When she started
I'm not
talking
exactly
about,
surprised, though.
Really? When she started talking about donkeys and stuff, I thought, oh, Lord, what is she going to say next, right?
But it's Lisa Vanderpump. She's seen it all, and she's kind of whatever with it. And I think that's what's so cool about her, because she doesn't pretend to have this holier than thou attitude.
Yeah, no, super down to earth. I love the sense of humor, and I love that we got to see so much of it on this trip. She just cracked me up the whole time.
She did. How about that little bit of info that Yolanda dropped, that she used to date Julio Iglesias 30 years ago?
Right?
I was like, what?
I'm thinking to myself, okay, I totally get it, because Yolanda can't be dating some 20-year-old guy from the neighborhood, right?
Well, probably not.
Looking at her and seeing her whole vibe, I think she was always destined to kind of get out there. And
I think she's always need to be around someone who's cultured.
Exactly.
Perhaps educated, but cultured, who likes,
someone who's a little more worldly, right?
Yes.
And when you think of Julio Iglesias, you definitely think worldly.
Mega superstar, well-known everywhere, basically.
Yeah, but between him and Mohammed and David Foster, it all fits. It does not fit to see the guy from the windmill and say, that's who she should be dating.
Well, in high school or junior high or, grade, that's
just
fine.
Didn't surprise me when she said it. I was like, oh my gosh. But at the same time, it didn't surprise me at all.
Exactly. I'm with you on that. And I loved how everyone at the table was like, oh my goodness, we're finding out about all these things in your past. It was awesome, though.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I loved her toast, just being so excited to show everyone her hometown and where she's from. Of course. I'm telling you, I wanted to be sitting at that table and I wanted to give her a hug.
Thank you, me too.
Just did.
I remember I yelled at the TV, Yolanda, you can invite me to Amsterdam or anywhere in the world whenever you want.
Right? It's awesome.
Do you need help with someone to translate for you in Spanish? I can help you with that.
There you go. We come back home, finally, right?
Yes. We're about a week out afterwards, a week later. Everyone's back home doing their thing.
Flash to Brandi meeting Yolanda at a local spa and telling him about her dad.
I'm surprised she didn't just try and make an effort to, we can't do this. I need to go up to Sacramento and be with the family.
We don't know the timing, right? We don't know how long, if it was just the night before and she was trying to get flights out, but just brings you back to that. You can kind of understand why Brandi is who she is when you see that vulnerable side of her.
Yeah.
We don't get to see that very often, but when you do, and later on, Yolanda, when she's talking about Brandi talks about her being fearful and feeling abandoned.
That's true. And she always lashes out.
Gives you all this great insight into why, and it kind of makes you just want to love her more and figure out what's happening. At least for me.
I mean, yes and no. I kind of see where Brandi's coming from, but, you know, when enough people have told you they have similar outstanding issues with you, wouldn't that be kind of a wake-up call to, you know, maybe I need to go talk to someone, deal with this?
She's caught in the cycle of, I don't want to be lectured, right? In her mind, it just all comes down to, it's a double standard. Other people can do these crazy things, like, you know, she mentioned Rinna throwing a glass and kind of choking Kyle. And everybody just kind of got over that the next day. Or sorry, choking Kim.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of got over that the next day. And it's true. They did.
They didn't really get over it. They just kind of threw it under the rug because they want to just play nice because they're on a trip and they're just trying to enjoy themselves.
But nobody was criticizing Rinna and saying that's completely unacceptable to throw a glass and try to choke somebody.
Eileen did have a conversation with her and was kind of like, I don't understand how you approach this, but the fact is they're on vacation. They don't want to, you know, poke the bear that much more. And I think we talked about it before, that it just made sense. Amsterdam was not the place to deal with this.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I can see Brandi's point when she puts it in those words, because that is what happened. These huge things happened and nobody was saying that's completely unacceptable. You know what I mean? They said it to Brandi, but they didn't say it to Rinna. You know, like Yolanda didn't get all upset and go to Rinna and say, Rinna, this is just completely unacceptable behavior for you to throw a glass.
Yeah, and I think even Rinna felt bad, but it just seems that I think for Brandi to grow, she needs to kind of step back and think, okay, this is a bigger situation than just between Kim and Rinna.
Oh, totally.
And this is something that everyone's been talking about. So I kind of get where Brandi's coming from, but she needs to kind of step back and realize not every situation is the same, and there's lots of gray and lots of context that needs to be applied.
I agree that there are changes that need to happen. I'm just saying I can understand why Brandi could see it from that perspective, given what we've seen in the last couple episodes. I can totally agree. It is a double standard, a little bit.
It is to some extent, but the same issues keep coming up, and this isn't the first season she's been on the show, so it's like after a while same shit keeps happening.
Exactly.
Regardless of what else is going on and whatever double standards might be there, but sometimes you think, well, maybe, I don't know, wouldn't it be growing up to kind of realize and look inside like, oh, well, maybe I did some shit that I shouldn't have.
Totally.
I need to figure out a better way.
I know she needs to do that. I'm just saying I can see it, but
she just needs to effing grow up.
Yes. So we see Adrian in this episode, kind of hanging out with Kim.
It was nice to see Adrian. I always thought that their relationship was a little
It was just weird to see them out of the blue, just hanging out like they're old chums. And they do the kind of the flash backwards to, you know, the one walk around the block that they shared maybe one season. It just was kind of weird. I'm thinking, okay, does Adrian all of a sudden want some camera time? What's happening? So
I don't know. I mean, I guess she's still involved with, you know, and still friendly with all of these ladies. We just don't see it, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a weird meetup because Kim was only telling her side of the story, but she's conveniently leaving out a lot of information there.
A lot of stuff. Well, and we get to see more of it when they kind of flash to Kyle talking to Rinna and deciding that she's going to go to the desert house and maybe she's going to invite Kim.
Because she hasn't spoken to her since they left Amsterdam, right? If I'm recalling correctly, like since they've all returned to LA.
All. We show Kyle at the desert house. Beautiful, by the way.
Oh my God.
Gorgeous. I swear, when she was walking on the wall to the pool, I thought for sure she was going to fall in or something. I was like, dun, 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 what's going to happen? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so Kim shows up and talk about awkward.
Very, very awkward. I guess it must be so hard though, because there's been so much that's gone on between them over the years and the making up and then, but not necessarily forgetting and,
Oh, we heard that there was no forgetting.
No.
Kyle and Kim start talking about poker night and a little bit about rehashing the stuff with Rinna.
Yeah.
And then they kind of get to the meat of it, which is to talk about what happened in the first season, I think it was, where they had this big fight in the limo about Kyle supposedly stealing Kim's house.
Okay, yeah. Even before Kim got there, Kyle was saying, our mom used to have a house. We all used it. But at some point, I don't remember the whole reason why, but I think they just weren't using it as much, or in terms of keeping up the mortgage and all that stuff.
Well, her mom passed away and left the house to them.
And Kyle and Mauricio decided to buy out the other sisters, Kathy and Kim, since they each had their own house in that area, right?
Yeah.
And then they decided to sell the house because they wanted to get something that was a little bit bigger or
so
something
from
to that
that
extent.
description, from Kyle's point of view, that description sounds completely copacetic. Like,
oh yeah, it's reasonable.
but then when Kyle starts to mention that to Kim just flies off the handle about, that's not how it went down, and I can show you the canceled checks and all this stuff.
Oh my god. Well, I was happy. Well, not happy, because how can you be happy when they're having this fight? But
Yeah.
Kyle rightly points out, and she tells Kim, you always twist things around.
Yeah.
Someone says one thing to you, and it gets twisted, and it becomes something else. And I
it's
like,
true.
and I'm,
We've
I'm
seen
glad
it.
that she called her sister out on that, especially when this whole mom's house issue came up. That was crazy. But then, the whole fact that Kim can't understand why everyone's in her business and what's going on. And Kyle's like, well, you do know it all started with Eileen's poker party.
Yeah.
Like you said. So it just seems like everything's on this vicious cycle, basically.
Well, and then she gets aggressive, right? And then she gets kind of with the finger pointing and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of snowballs from there. What did you think about when Kyle just laid out that whole thing about, you think Brandi's your friend? You think she's such a good friend? Well, see what your friend's been doing behind your back. And she tells her the thing about the intervention. And then she goes, how do you like that? I'm thinking, that's such a 6th grade move, Kyle. Really?
But these are sisters. This is how they push each other's button. And I think maybe it was just a matter of trying to point out, because she was trying to be calm. She was trying to be level-headed, and then Kim takes it up to the next level, always.
Yeah.
Or majority of the time it ends up that way. So,
but it's like she couldn't wait to deliver that piece of information.
Yeah. And it was totally Kyle's way of saying, listen, you're blaming and complaining that everyone's talking about you behind your back, but the person you say is your best friend is doing the exact same thing.
And I agree with Kyle when she says, I hope she doesn't break your heart. I really hope she doesn't. I hope it ends up
It's true.
well. Somehow.
It's true. What saddened me, I think, about this whole, not even discussion, this fight, basically, didn't Kyle say something along the lines that if she and Kim were just friends, not family, not related, that she would have given up on the relationship a long time ago?
That was really telling, don't you think?
It was. Kyle was tired.
Excuse the pun,
bad
but
for Kyle at that
sobering
moment.
stuff. Yeah.
Well,
so, and then, Kim goes into the kitchen after Kyle's like crying in the corner and just says how much she loves her and that they know they need to work on their stuff.
so maybe they will do more work. I mean, I know we've talked about this before, but they've never mentioned anything about having going to therapy or anything.
Not at all. Well, and as we heard kind of about the reunion, when they filmed the reunion, Kyle and Kim hadn't talked for like 4 months before the reunion. So it doesn't look like after this desert visit, they even had more time to talk.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, okay. I didn't hear anything about the reunions. So next week I know is the season finale, and then after that we've got the reunion shows.
But
to end on a happy note.
Yeah, let's do that.
To end on a happy note, I was happy to see Vanderpump said that she got ordained.
I know, right?
And she presided over a gay wedding.
It was awesome. The grooms looked so
handsome. That was a gorgeous couple, wasn't it?
Yes.
Oh my
totally.
goodness.
And the whole affair was just fabulous.
Yeah. I was like, good, we're ending on a happy note. And I was laughing when they were showing Eileen with her son, I guess, going over the homework.
That kid has Latin. How do you
Well, how
have
old is
Latin?
he?
I don't know, but it's like
He looks
Latin.
about 10 or 11.
Ugh.
Maybe it's beginning, baby Latin.
That's our time for today. You can follow us on Twitter at @didthelletteru.watchit. You can also find us at iTunes. Let us know what you think. Thank you for listening.